Welcome to Tea and Games. Beautiful morning, isn't it? Yes, you may notice a mug you have not seen before. This is a mug for one of my favorite content creators, second star to the left. Yeah, get that right up there to the camera. And on the other side it says, I also got a shirt, but it's a long sleeve shirt, and temperatures here are still, or I should say again, in the 80s. Yeah, that's right. We're sweltering, so be a while before you see that shirt. Anyhow, I'm going to try to do this in one take with no inserts, so it ought to be real interesting. Maybe fast too. I've mentioned before that we got a bunch of new versions of Gloom, which we still hadn't played. Well, now we've played them. We got the Undead expansion, which we have now played, and I have to tell you, this is rapidly becoming one of my favorite expansions, because it kind of levels some things out, particularly for two-player games. In Gloom, you've all got these characters that represent a family, and you're trying to play negative points on them, like horrible disasters until you kill them all off. And whoever kills off all their family members first, then that triggers the game end, and you add up points, but you can only score for the characters that are deceased, which means that the person who finishes the game has a little bit of an advantage. And there are other cards that do stuff that can mitigate that to some extent. But with the Undead expansion, you can have characters that are both dead and alive. You can play undead cards on characters. And the effect of these cards are that these characters can be scored even if you haven't killed them off. So if you've killed off two characters and you've got two undead characters that have negative points on it, and the other person ends the game by killing off all 5 of their family members in various bizarre and hilarious ways, then you could score all of yours, because the 3 ones that have already been taken out of the game by having the rest in peace cards played on them, and like the undead characters as well, because they can still be scored after the game is over, because technically they are sort of dead and alive. So I think that that's kind of interesting. I think it levels things a little bit, but it takes out that advantage that the person that ends the game has, because I mean, if they've gotten 5 characters they can score, and everybody else at the table, or the other person, if you're only playing with 2, only has 4 characters they can score, or even worse, 3 that they can score, then basically you're sort of playing to be the one that finishes first and ends the game, because that gives you an advantage. I mean, assuming that you can pile enough negative points onto them to make it worthwhile to play a death card on them and then take them out so you can score them later. But I do like the Unquiet Dead expansion. I think that helps actually a bit, particularly with 2-player games. It kind of evens things up so that you're really playing for those negative points, not just for being the first one out, which ends the game. So I would recommend that, particularly if you play Gloom with 2. Yes, Unquiet Dead. We also got 2 standalone versions of Gloom. We got Cthulhu Gloom. This is the empty box, because I keep all my Glooms in the big Gloom box. Big Gloom box. Yes, that's how much we play and like Gloom. The Cthulhu Gloom is amusing. It has like the characters from the Cthulhu mythos. I played the Marsh characters, the Marsh family characters, and it's really great artwork. And we enjoyed it. It does not really change Gloom in any way or add anything particularly to it. We also played another, and this is kind of newish, it's come out this year, standalone version of Gloom called A Night at Hemlock Hall. It's basically just like the original Gloom, except that it includes story cards and, what's the other one? Stories and unwelcome guest. That's it. Stories and unwelcome guest. It includes a few of those. Now, we're a little squidgy on this one because there's 20 cards and it can play up to 5, and you play 4 characters per thing. But here's the thing, the way they printed this, the story cards and the unwelcome guest are on the back side of some of the character cards. So you deal out 4 character cards to everyone, and then from the remaining cards, you choose unwelcome guest and stories. But of course, if you're playing with 5, there are no remaining cards. If you're playing with 4, there are darn few remaining cards. So, I mean, if you really want to play with stories and guests, you should, I don't know, maybe roll in stories or guests from some other expansion into it, because it seems a little awkward to me. I mean, we could do it because we were playing a 2-person game. And the game did not go that well. It was one of the longest Gloom games that we have ever played in our life. We both had a very difficult time. It seemed to us as if there were more plus cards than usual in a deck. And it seemed like we were constantly trying to get rid of pluses on our characters so that we could kill them off. And it was unusually difficult and somewhat, I don't know, tedious, because it just went on and on and on and on. It could just be, I don't know, the way the cards fell just maybe weren't propitious for us in that particular game, but we had a lot of problems with it. And that particular game played, and it felt very unbalanced. And I don't know if that was just some kind of weird quirk of how the cards fell, or if there really is a problem with the card balance. We're going to have to play it more times to be sure. But that is A Night at Hemlock Hall with stories and guests. But you cannot use the stories and guests if you play with a whole bunch of people, unless you bring them in from someplace else. Although I don't know if that would work, because you have certain symbols for each version of Gloom, and each expansion has some unique symbols that will come up in the deck cards that go with it. So anyhow, Gloom. And we also, what do I want to do next? We also played another couple of games of Campy Creatures, and we played with the expansion this time. And the new monsters, and yeah, I'm going to have to put an insert in there with the new monsters. We like those, rolling those into the deck. And they also have instigator cards and angry mob cards, which we played with, that are in the expansion deck. And the angry mob always follows the instigator from person to person. I actually think this, again, would work well with more people. I mean, there are a number of games that we play that just really need more than 2 people, because it's like, oh, you can play this with 2, and you play it with 2, and you're kind of going like, yeah, but this game I mean, we can play it and it's fun. We're enjoying ourselves. Look at the great artwork. But then we just kind of go, but this would really be better with more people. And Campy Creatures, I think, really would be better with more people. And we do like the new expansion. The thing is, and this is the difference between my husband and I find Campy Creatures too fiddly to set up for such a fast, simple card game, because you've got to, and we have to set up and take down. You have to sort all the cards, like you have your base mortals, because you're playing monsters to try to capture mortals. So you've got to like sort out your base mortals that go into every deck, and then you have to choose the mortals from the other sections that you're going to put in, but you can only use one of them if you're only playing with 2. And then you have the assistants, and some of the assistants have to go into the location deck, which has to be prepared and the cards put into a certain order and laid out on the board thing. And then the other assistants, some of them need to be put into the deck, but depending upon how many players that you use, you may not put all of them into the deck. With 2 players, you won't. So it just seems like there's just a little bit too many different things you have to do to just take out this fast, simple, slap them down card game, and it is done and fun. It just seems like setup and takedown, resorting all of the cards is just a little too fiddly. But here's the thing. My husband disagrees. He doesn't think it's fiddly at all. And this is the guy who doesn't like games that have a lot of setup and takedown, and it takes a lot of time and is very fiddly. So I kind of feel like, I don't know, I guess it's just me, because if he doesn't think it's fiddly, then it probably isn't fiddly. Although I should say that usually I am the one that does set up and takedown. But he is the one that is like waiting for me to set up and wanting to do something else while I am taking things down. So yeah, setup and takedown does impact him, even if I'm the one that's doing it. But he thinks Campy Creatures is fine for setup and takedown. And so I'm just going like, good, you set it up and take it down then. I am okay with that. But it's got really great artwork. It really does. And it is a lot of fun and would play better with more people, I really think. The other things we did this past weekend, we hit a couple of things hard. We've been buying Carcassone expansions. We really love Carcassone. It's my husband's favorite game. And we've got the base game, the big box, which also includes the base game. So technically we've got 2 of those. And we've got all of the major expansions except all of the major expansions in print, because I believe I think number 7 is no longer in print. And we don't have number 10, the big top. But we have all the major expansions, and we have the big box, which includes some of the major expansions and has a bunch of mini expansions. And I got these wonderful folded space inserts, which allow me to put the base game and all of the expansions into 2 boxes. Except I kind of didn't, because I've got not just major expansions, but mini expansions from the big box. So what I actually have here, hang on, is this. Yeah, see, this is the base game of Carcassone, and with the inserts, and I don't know if you can tell, but these are kind of stacked. I've taken one out here. I have that in another thingy. And then the folded space insert also comes with inserts for a second, like one of the expansion boxes. It comes with 2 inserts, an insert for the base game and 1 expansion. But using these 2, they say that you can put all of the major expansions in those 2 boxes. But we also have mini expansions that I stacked in, so that actually takes up a bit more space. So, and because we got the tower, because we just really basically loved the whole, and this is where I put the other folded space expansion, which has the tower pieces in it. But the tower expansion for Carcassone has this wonderful tower, and I don't want to take it apart and put it back together again or anything, so I just leave it in the tower box, and we use this to dole out tiles. But as you can see, it will hold more than the base game and some of the expansions. So our Carcassone is actually going to go into 3 boxes. It will have right now I've got the base game and the tower expansion in the tower box, and then I've got the other expansions in the other 2 boxes. And that seems to work out okay. What I'd like to kind of do is I'd like to kind of do a thing where we sort out our favorite expansions, the ones that we're kind of always going to roll into it or frequently roll into it, and store those all in the tower. So that way we can just like pull out the game board and meeples and plop the tower box onto the table and we're ready to go. I'm still actually kind of trying to figure a way to put the meeples and the game board and everything into the tower box, so that way it's like we could have like all of our favorite stuff into one box and have the nifty little tower to pull the tiles from. But I haven't quite sorted that out yet. If I figure that out, I'll let you know. If you have any suggestions, put them in comments. But besides, we played one of the new expansions we got. It actually came in this weekend. It was, what is it called? Bridges, Castles, and Bazaars. They sometimes have long titles. I needed to make sure I got that in the right order. Bridges, Castles, and Bazaars. And I don't know, usually when we play Carcassone that's got new pieces and new rules to it, it takes us a little while to kind of get the hang of it. I mean, it's not like the gameplay went badly. It's just that we don't utilize the new stuff to the fullest extent on the first playthrough. You know, first playthroughs of any games are kind of like the first pancake. They're always a little wonky, you know? And so the first playthrough of expansions can be like that too. But we do think that this could be a winner for expansions, just from what we've seen. It just is going to take us a little while to like learn to think about, oh yes, and I can put a bridge there. Because we kept saying, oh, I could put a bridge there. No, wait, I can't put a bridge there. But I could have put a bridge here on my previous turn, but I did not think of that. So yeah, we still haven't quite like rejiggered our brain to the new pieces. But we enjoyed that quite a lot. However, the real hit of the weekend was dum, da, da, dum, Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Now, I'm very much a theme-oriented person, and my husband kind of is too. I mean, the gameplay has to be good, but theme and artwork is what tends to make us go, ooh, shiny, must have. And then we'll look and we'll do some research and we'll go like, oh, wow, that does not look fun at all. Or, oh, yes, please, that looks like a lot of fun. But theme and artwork are what catch our eye. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but games, sometimes you do. At the very least, artwork and theme are the kind of thing that make you think, I need to look into that and see if it is something that I would like, or if it's something that I think would be no fun at all. I mean, occasionally I have looked at games I'm thinking like, oh, that is gorgeous, and I love the theme, I am so there. And it's like, and I watch a playthrough video and I'm going like, oh my God, that's like watching paint dry. Who would ever play that? So, you know, theme and artwork draw me in, but it's got to have more than that. It's got to play really well. Welcome to did not really grab me on the theme of artwork. Building a 50s subdivision just is not like my idea of like, oh, wow, isn't this a great theme? But yeah, Welcome to Your Perfect Home is a flip and write game. And a flip and write game, it's like a roll and write game, only instead of dice, you're using cards. On a roll and write game, what you do is you roll the dice and then you assign a number of dice. You assign a number, each of the numbers of dice you assign to something like on a sheet of paper, and you mark off certain conditions, or you draw things on the paper based upon the value of the dice, like certain things that you might want to build on the paper cost a certain amount of dice. But with a flip and write game, what you do is you have cards which have, in this case, numbers on them and also effects. You have a pair of cards for each turn, and it plays really fast. You're like flipping the cards and marking and flipping the cards and marking. But at the same time, while this is a game that is, oh, and this really hits our sweet spot, it is easy to learn. It is easy to teach. It is, I mean, how you play this is very simple. Once you look at this, and it's got a cheat sheet that shows you what all the effects are, the player aid, and after that, you just look at it and go like, okay, so how do I do that? And you mark the things on the sheets. You're building little subdivisions and little estates, and you can even name them. I named them variations off of names of my dogs. Anyhow, I did pretty well the first game. The very first game that we played, you may have seen this in the community tab. Yes, I've been posting stuff in the community tab, and if you're subscribed, and even if you click the little bell icon, you may not be notified when I post stuff on the community tab, but it should show up in your subscription feed. The stuff that I post in the community tabs, pictures and things that I'm writing about it, there will also occasionally be polls in there. I'm really loving the community tab because it allows me to post stuff between videos. But now, I did pretty well. Our first game, we played along with Monique and Naveen over on the Before You Play channel. They did a play along of Welcome To, and we played along with them. And I did pretty well. I actually scored the same as Monique, at least on the first game. I really tanked on the second game that my husband and I just played by ourselves. But we were just completely and utterly charmed by Welcome To. I mean, it doesn't seem like something we would like, but the flip and right, it plays very fast. It's easy to learn and everything, but at the same time, figuring out the optimal way of doing stuff, and should you use this number or that number, and should you do that now? And it's tricky. It's very puzzly and tricky. And so, I mean, that's kind of our sweet spot, are games that are really easy to learn. They're rules light, but when you sit down and play them, the actual playing of the game requires a little bit of thinking and planning, and you're trying to figure out, and let's see, the second game, I did not get a fence in that I needed to, and I could have put that fence in earlier, and I divided the fence wrong. There was a better way of dividing the fences, and what turned out, I ended up with a fence short. So I really tanked in the second game. But we were so charmed by it, we went out to Barnes & Noble, local Barnes & Noble. This is a Barnes & Noble exclusive. You may think you're holding up the game box again, but look closely. It looks like the regular game box, but it is actually dry erase expansions. So I like seasonal games. I mean, I just do. I mean, it's just kind of a nifty little thing to do. They have they have expansions for this, which have one of the little things that you need to do needs to meet some kind of some kind of requirement that's with one of the seasonal boards. They have winter board, in which you're stringing Christmas lights. These are the dry erase boards. Very, very nice. Very nice. You don't have to get like pads and pads of stuff. And particularly for seasonal games in which you're not going to be playing 100 games. And yes, this game can play 1 to 100. You could use an entire pad of sheets with a large group of people. So that was winter. Spring, you're doing Easter eggs. And like I said, there's one card. There are a couple of cards that have different conditions. I think each one comes with a few cards that have different conditions that relate to the specific things on the seasonal boards. Ice cream truck is going around for summer. And the season just passed. You have ghost and candy corn for Halloween. And what I did not realize, because I did kind of look this up and research it online, I'm thinking like, are there dry erase things of this? Can I get, because I knew that Welcome To had some seasonal stuff, and I'm going like, can I get seasonal stuff? Can I get seasonal dry erase stuff? And that's when I found out that there was a Barnes & Noble exclusive. So we just trotted down there and grabbed it. But none of the things that I read about this told me was, the backside of the seasonal boards have the base game dry erase boards on it. So you get 4 boards for each of the 4 seasons, winter, spring, summer, and Halloween. And you get a total, therefore, of 16 of the base game for dry erase boards, in addition to the pad for the dry erase boards we already have. So we are pretty much set for Welcome To, unless we want to get the other 2 expansions. They have a zombie outbreak expansion, and they have, because this is like Welcome To 50s, Your Perfect Home. Continuing with the 50s theme, they also have one in which you're building bomb shelters. It's called the Doomsday Expansion. And isn't that fun, huh? But we have, and it comes with, as I said, the packs of cards, which have things on them, which tell you the conditions for various seasons. Little extra cards to put into your thing. You're still meeting the regular requirements, but you have cards that will throw in one extra requirement. One of the 3 requirements you do will have a seasonal requirement. It comes with 4 dry erase markers. And that is welcome to dry erase expansions. And of course, instruction sheets. Very important instruction sheets. So we are just super, super pleased with that. And that pretty much wraps up all of the stuff that we did this weekend. We played the, I think we played the Undead Gloom last weekend, the weekend before. And we did, this weekend we did Gloomier Night at Hemlock Hall, and Cthulhu was a couple of weeks ago, and we did the Carcassone Bridges and Castles expansion, and we did Welcome to, and we did Campy Creatures, the expansion deck. It's just the expansion deck does not have a clever name. For the expansion deck for Campy Creatures doesn't have a clever name. It's just called Expansion 1. So if you're looking for it, look for Campy Creatures Expansion 1. I'm hoping they come out with an expansion 2 because we quite enjoy the first expansion for it. But anyhow, that has been the way things have been going around here. Pretty neat, huh? I will put a link to Monique and Naveen's playthrough, play along, welcome to in the description below. I will also put a link to Second Star to the Left, which is one of my faves, one of my husband's faves as well too. Content creators. And tea this morning is Builders. Good British breakfast blend. And you can get that like any place that sells British teas. I don't have a special source for that. We get it wherever we can. And that should do it for today. Thanks for watching. Please do like and subscribe. Comment anything if you wish. YouTube puts a lot of store into likes and comments and subscriptions and interactions, and that will basically help me keep the channel alive because it will mean that YouTube will show my channel to other people as suggestions and my videos as suggestions. So you know, a few more people may see it. Anyhow, we are casual board gamers. Don't judge us too harshly. And I will see you next time round the table. Bye.